mastering emotional intelligence, the key to success. Most people will never reach their full career potential, and it has absolutely nothing to do with their technical skills, their degrees, or how hard they work. You probably know someone who is the smartest person in the room, a literal genius in their field, yet they can't seem to lead a team or get a promotion to save their life. This is the hidden wall that stops high achievers in their tracks, and today, we are going to tear that wall down. In this video, we are diving deep into the world of emotional intelligence, or EQ. We are going to look at why your ability to handle your own feelings and the feelings of others is the single biggest predictor of your success. Here's our agenda for this deep dive. First, we will define exactly what emotional intelligence is and debunk some common myths about it. Second, we will discuss the value proposition, why EQ is the most demanded skill in the modern economy. Third, we will break down the 5 pillars of EQ in extreme detail: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Finally, we will give you a step-by-step implementation plan with actionable exercises you can start using at work and at home right now. By the end of this video, you will have a complete roadmap for mastering your emotions and using them as a tool for professional and personal growth on the Mychangemanagement journey. Let's start by defining what we are actually talking about. Emotional intelligence is not just about being a nice person. It is not about being soft or emotional. In fact, it's quite the opposite. EQ is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions while also recognizing, understanding, and influencing the emotions of others. Think of it as a form of street smarts for the professional world. It is the internal dashboard that tells you when you're getting angry before you actually start yelling. It is the radar that picks up on a client's hesitation before they even say no. When we talk about EQ, we are talking about emotional management. It's about using your emotions as data to make better decisions, rather than letting your emotions drive the car while you sit helplessly in the passenger seat. Now, why does this matter so much today? We live in an age where technical skills are becoming a commodity. Artificial intelligence can write code, analyze data, and create reports faster than any human. But AI cannot feel empathy. It cannot navigate a complex office political situation. It cannot inspire a discouraged team after a major project failure. This is why hard skills are no longer enough for career growth. According to research from organizations like Talent Smart, 90% of top performers in the workplace have high emotional intelligence. Companies today aren't just looking for someone who can do the job. They are looking for someone who can collaborate, manage pressure, and lead with empathy. If you can't get along with people, if you crumble under stress, or if you can't see things from another person's perspective, you will hit a ceiling very quickly. EQ is what allows you to build trust. And in business, trust is the ultimate currency. To truly master this, we have to look at the 5 pillars of emotional intelligence. These pillars were popularized by Daniel Goleman, and they serve as the foundation for everything we do here at Mychangemanagement. The first pillar is self-awareness. This is the foundation of the entire house. If you don't have self-awareness, you can't have the other 4. Self-awareness is the ability to see yourself clearly. It's about knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and your triggers. Think about a time when a coworker gave you some negative feedback. Did you immediately get defensive? Did your heart rate go up? Did you start thinking of excuses? A self-aware person notices those physical and mental changes in real time. They might think to themselves, okay, my chest is getting tight because I feel attacked right now. I'm feeling defensive because I value being seen as competent. That simple act of noticing creates a gap between the feeling and the reaction. Self-awareness also means knowing how you show up in a room. Do people stop talking when you walk in? Do they look energized or drained after a meeting with you? If you don't know the answer to that, you have a self-awareness gap. The second pillar is self-regulation. Once you are aware of your emotions, you have to do something with them. Self-regulation is the difference between an impulsive reaction and a thoughtful response. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about managing them. Imagine you're a manager and one of your employees makes a massive mistake that costs the company money. Your first instinct might be to scream or send a nasty email. Self-regulation is what makes you take that pause. It's the ability to say, I am incredibly frustrated right now, but yelling won't fix the problem or help the employee learn. People with high self-regulation are flexible. They can adapt to change without panicking. They don't let their bad mood ruin everyone else's day. They choose their words carefully because they know that once words are spoken, they can't be taken back. The third pillar is motivation. But we aren't talking about the kind of motivation that comes from a paycheck or a fancy title. We're talking about intrinsic drive. This is the internal fire that keeps you going because you actually care about the work you do. People with high EQ are driven to achieve for the sake of achievement. They have a passion for what they do, and they are constantly looking for ways to do it better. This creates emotional resilience. When things go wrong, and they always do, the intrinsically motivated person doesn't just quit. They look at the setback, they feel the disappointment, and then they get back to work because their goals are tied to their personal values, not just an external reward. They remain optimistic even when the data looks bad, not because they are delusional, but because they believe in their ability to influence the outcome. The fourth pillar is empathy. This is perhaps the most misunderstood pillar. Empathy isn't about agreeing with everyone or being a pushover. It's about perspective taking. It is the ability to see a situation through the eyes of someone else. In a professional setting, this is a superpower. If you're a salesperson, empathy allows you to understand the real fear a customer has about spending money. If you're a manager, empathy allows you to realize that an employee's performance is dropping because they are struggling with a personal issue at home. When you respond with understanding rather than judgment, you build a connection that is incredibly strong. It allows you to communicate in a way that the other person can actually hear. Without empathy, you are just talking at people, not with them. The fifth and final pillar is social skills. This is where everything else comes together. Social skills are the output of your emotional intelligence. If you are self-aware, you can regulate yourself, you have motivation, and you have empathy, you will naturally be better at interacting with others. But social skills involve specific tools like active listening, verbal and nonverbal communication, and conflict management. It's about building rapport and finding common ground. A leader with great social skills can navigate a room full of disagreeing stakeholders and bring them to a consensus. They know how to deliver hard news without destroying morale. They know how to give praise that feels authentic. They aren't just networking, they're building a community of people who want to work with them. Now, we have a problem. Most of us were never taught these things in school. We were taught how to solve for X and how to write an essay, but we weren't taught how to handle a boss who takes credit for our work. This is the challenge. We are walking around with high-tech brains and prehistoric emotional systems. Our brains are hardwired to react to social rejection the same way they react to a physical threat. When someone criticizes you in a meeting, your brain thinks a lion is attacking you. This leads to what psychologists call an amygdala hijack, where the emotional part of your brain takes over and the logical part shuts down. You say something you regret, you burn a bridge, or you shut down and stop contributing. Let's explore this through a real-world scenario. Meet Sarah. Sarah is a brilliant project manager. She is organized, her spreadsheets are perfect, and she knows the technical side of her industry better than anyone. However, Sarah has low EQ. When a deadline is missed, she gets visibly angry and blames her team in public. When a team member suggests a new idea, she dismisses it quickly because it's not how she planned it. She thinks she is being efficient and result-oriented. But what is actually happening? Her team is terrified of her. They've stopped sharing ideas because they don't want to be shut down. They've stopped telling her about problems early because they don't want to get yelled at. Eventually, her best employees quit. The project fails not because Sarah didn't know the tech, but because she couldn't manage the people. Now, compare that to Mark. Mark has the same job as Sarah, but he has invested in his emotional intelligence. When a deadline is missed, Mark feels the same frustration Sarah does, but he regulates it. He calls a private meeting and asks, "What happened and how can I help you get back on track?" He uses empathy to understand that his lead developer is burnt out. He uses his social skills to motivate the team to put in a final push. Mark's team is loyal, they communicate openly, and they hit their goals because they feel supported. The difference between Sarah and Mark isn't their IQ, it's their EQ. So, how do you become like Mark? How do you master these skills? It's not an overnight fix, it's a muscle that you have to train. Here are the actionable steps you can start today. Step 1. Start a self-reflection practice. You can't change what you don't notice. Set a timer on your phone for 3 times a day. When it goes off, just stop and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Give the emotion a name. Are you anxious, bored, content, frustrated? Then ask yourself, why? What happened in the last hour that caused this feeling? This simple habit builds the self-awareness muscle. You start to see the patterns in your behavior. You might realize that every Tuesday afternoon you get grumpy because of a recurring meeting. Once you know that, you can plan for it. Step 2, create a feedback loop. We all have blind spots. There are things about your behavior that everyone else can see, but you can't. Find a trusted colleague, a mentor, or even a friend, and ask them for honest feedback. Ask a specific question like, how do I come across when I'm under pressure? Or, do I listen well during our team meetings? You have to be prepared to hear things that might hurt your ego. This is where self-regulation comes in. Don't defend yourself. Just listen and say thank you. Use that information to adjust your behavior. Step 3, practice active listening. Most of us don't listen. We just wait for our turn to speak. In your next conversation, make it your goal to understand the other person's point of view so well that you could argue it for them. Focus on their verbal cues, their tone of voice, their choice of words, and their non-verbal cues, their posture, their eye contact, their fidgeting. Ask follow-up questions like, it sounds like you're saying you're worried about the timeline, is that right? This shows empathy and builds massive rapport. Step 4, use analytical problem solving for your emotions. When you feel a strong negative emotion, treat it like a data point. If you're feeling angry at a teammate, don't just sit in the anger, analyze it. I'm angry because I feel they aren't pulling their weight. Is that objectively true, or am I just stressed? If it is true, what is the most constructive way to bring this up? This moves the process from the emotional amygdala to the logical prefrontal cortex. It gives you back control. Step 5, expand your comfort zone. Emotional intelligence grows when we are exposed to new and challenging situations. If you usually hide in the back of meetings, volunteer to lead a small segment. If you usually avoid difficult conversations, commit to having one this week. Dealing with the discomfort of these situations helps you build adaptability and resilience. It teaches you that you can handle scary emotions without breaking. Mastering emotional intelligence is a continuous journey. You will have days where you lose your cool. You will have days where you misread a situation. That's okay. Even the most expert leaders are still practicing. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is growth. As you improve your EQ, you will find that your relationships become deeper, your career starts to accelerate, and your internal life becomes much more peaceful. You stop being a victim of your moods and start being the architect of your own success. We have covered a lot today. We looked at the definition of EQ as the management of self and others. We discussed why it is the key differentiator in the modern workplace. We broke down the 5 pillars: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. And we walked through a clear plan to start improving these skills through reflection, feedback, active listening, and analysis. Remember, your technical skills might get you the job, but your emotional intelligence is what will get you the promotion, the respect of your peers, and the ability to lead effectively. This is the heart of what we do at Mychangemanagement. We believe that personal change is the first step toward organizational change. If you can master yourself, you can master any challenge the professional world throws at you.